Hi, my name is Jolyn again, and I'm part of the Rendell family. And so my mom and I are here to just share about what this Rendell family has been up to this past year. I was here basically exactly a year ago, also sharing with you guys what I did last summer. So I'm here again to share what I did this past summer, and like Effie said, what this next season brings as well. So
we're going to tag team a little bit this morning, just to do a little bit of a combination thing, and then it'll slide into what Jolyn will be talking about as we go. And yes, that would be probably good. I think maybe the opposite ones, yeah.
There we go.
Sound a little bit better?
Yep, perfect.
Great. All right. Well, Jolyn has put the formatting of this beautiful PowerPoint together, and that's one of her gifts, and one that I celebrate because I seem to be getting less and less able to do technology things, but I have a great team, and Jolyn is one who is part of my team, so I'm very grateful for that. The theme that she put together here was with the theme of abide, and along with that, through the seasons. You all know that we are heading into the fall season. You can feel it around as you put your sweaters on and you see the fall leaves coming. But also in our lives, we have many seasons. And so we are moving along in the seasons in our family. And one of the reasons that we transitioned back here a year ago was, again, to celebrate the seasons that we are in. I find myself in the sandwich years, I may have mentioned that before, but where we have our parents that we want to honor, and we have our kids who are now adults, but they still want us to be part of their lives. So we're in the middle and just trying to honor both of those life seasons, and so that's why we are now based here in Victoria for a while, although we are doing a lot of global travel, which we will share with you now. So this is our family, and this is a picture that was just a month ago, and our granddaughter Elizabeth, or Ellie as we like to call her, just turned 1 year old. So this is her birthday picture when the family was able to be together. And we do have copies of this on the back table there with just a few other things that you can look at there. So feel free to take a picture because we really appreciate your prayers for us through the years and now through these next years as the seasons progress. All right, so we've broken this up into autumn of last year because that's when Jolyn shared with you last year, and I'm going to do autumn and winter, and then Jolyn's going to and spring, and then Jolyn's going to do summer and what lies ahead. So back last year, again, as I mentioned, we came and we were re-engaging with family and re-establishing relationships here as far as ministry goes, both here locally with Youth for Christ Victoria and Youth for Christ Canada across the country, and re-engaging with our families. So we took our parents up to Honeymoon Bay, where Youth for Christ has a retreat center, and we spent a couple nights with them there. We had cousins. You'll see Arla's grandkids there, Matthew and Jackie right there on the other end with our girls in the middle. So, and then Margaret Booker, who's my sister who lives in Salem, Oregon. So we had some family time there. And Jordan spoke at the men's retreat in the fall, or no, he didn't speak. He's going to speak this year at the men's retreat, but he attended the men's retreat. And so, again, just engaging with our family here and settling and reestablishing relationships. I did do, we were coming off our sabbaticals as well. I'm not sure, you probably read that in our newsletter. Jordan and I were both able to take a sabbatical last summer. We had overlapping sabbaticals. I did June, July, August, and he did July, August, September. And so we had 6 weeks together, but he was still working while I was taking some time for a sabbatical. Then we had some time off together, and then I went back to work and he had a sabbatical, the rest of his sabbatical. So when mine was finished and he was on his sabbatical, instead of Jordan and I traveling together, I took Jolyn with me to the one trip that I did last fall, and that was to Turkey. And I originally was going to take Joy because Joy is studying theology, and besides being at this international church conference, we were able to tour the city of Ephesus. And so I thought that'd be kind of a fun thing for Joy to experience in real life as she's studying the Word. But she felt that she needed to be here to do her studies. She's doing them online. And so she stayed here with Jordan, and I took Jolyn with me instead. Because as we were at the conference, Jolyn and I and one of our co-workers in Europe, we did a Third Culture Kids seminar. I think we've talked about that before, where it's kids that live outside their passport countries, but they're not the nationals of the country they live in, so they form a third culture. And so Jordan's a third culture kid, our 4 kids are third culture kids. I'm just a global nomad, but we now offer these seminars to different places. And so we were attending this international church conference in Turkey. You can see the participants there. And we did the seminar, but Jolynn also did a program for any of the kids of the international pastors that attended. And just, it was a wonderful time. And we'll never see those kids again, probably. I mean, realistically, we keep in touch. You know, social media is a great thing these days. But they were from all over the place, from Costa Rica to Morocco to Norway, and they just came together for this one conference, and off they go again, back to with their families wherever they go. So it was an opportune time to be sharing how to do transition well, because they're moving around with their families, and how to live into the third culture kid identity that they now have. Whether they like it or not. And so we try and give them the opportunity to understand the challenges of that, but the benefits as well. And so, yes, that's what we, so both local and global. And then we headed into the winter. And as we started back to work again, 2024 has been a very full year, re-engaging with a different context as we settled into our responsibilities from Canada, but both locally and globally. And so locally here, Youth for Christ across Canada has 3 regional retreats a year. One in Central in January, and then Eastern at the end of January, and then the one here in BCL and Alberta, our Western retreat, is until April. But we participated in all 3 of those this year, as well as our National Ministry Conference back east to celebrate 80 years of Youth for Christ in Canada. So we did those 4 retreats this year to understand where Canada is at, and to see what Youth for Christ ministries are happening across Canada, and how we can give them resources about all of the immigrants that are coming into Canada, and also just the understanding of the third culture kids. So I was participating in a seminar called Engaging the Changing Face of Canada, and the gal that's in the middle there, the shorter gal, she's from Syria, and she has a fabulous story, maybe that's the wrong word, a very impacting story of how she came to the Lord as a Syrian refugee in the ministry of Youth for Christ Lebanon, which you got to meet our national director from Lebanon earlier this year. And she now works with Youth for Christ in a, she was brought to Canada as a refugee because her life was in danger. And so she now works with Youth for Christ in Ontario. And she's a single mom, and so she brought her teenage daughter. And they've had some struggles settling into Canada. Very different culture, a lot of struggles with the values that are being promoted these days. But she is just a light in her community. And so we did this seminar together, just again, those of us that have lived here but have global ties, and then those that have moved here to Canada, and how they are impacting our local communities. And so we were just really thrilled to do that with her. We also, so that's the local part of things. And then Jordan and I headed back to the UAE in Kenya in the end of January, beginning of February, because Jordan was invited back by the government, and he's been to the UAE 3 times this year. And he just got back yesterday, last night actually, from 2 weeks there. And it's very interesting, even though we lived there for 5 years, and he did participate with the government then, they seem to be pulling him back when they want him, even though we don't live there anymore. And so he participated, he actually facilitated this event called the Round Table Discussion, and it was an interfaith dialogue with the Grand Imam from the region, and from Chief Rabbi from the region, and then he represents the Christian face of being involved with the leadership of the Ministry of Tolerance in the UAE. And so he was doing that, and I was checking in with our Youth for Christ guy that replaced my role in the UAE. And then we both went on to Kenya, where I have a staff there who's helping out with our website. He works part-time for me, and then he works part-time for Youth for Christ Kenya. And so again, we led a Youth Compass. Youth Compass is our cross-cultural ministry within Youth for Christ. And so we led another Third Culture Kids seminar there. And then Jordan also spoke with the youth pastors of Kenya. And so we have dual roles wherever we go, and we sort of end up doing that wherever we go. We also have a book that's called Life in Motion, and so it's about the cross-cultural people in the Bible. So if you remember your Bible studies story as well, you have Daniel, who was in exile and was promoted to be in the government there, and just how he was able to impact the government. You have Joseph, who was thrown in a pit by his brothers and went off to Egypt, and then again worked his way up because of the values he held. He was recognized and brought into leadership there. And so anyway, there's some 10 Bible studies in this, and we've had them translated now into Spanish, French, and German, because there are school networks around the world that are in those languages, and we feel that the families might be able to use this wherever we travel. So we offer that. It's also online. So that's just sort of, again, local and global, or national and global here in Canada and overseas. And then we move on into the spring, and the spring, again, was a mixture of family and travel again. And again, I'm not trying to make this a travelogue. This is about the people we meet and the contacts we have and the way that we can minister to those, so that by multiplication effort, then the message that we are sharing can be spread throughout the nations. So we had the privilege, I know that some of you were able to participate with the shower we had here at Central for Anna, my niece, Melody's daughter, and so we were able to participate in that as a family, and it was great. A great family reunion, just those days. They were married in middle of March. And then shortly after that, we headed to Europe. And we were visiting with our National Directors of Youth for Christ in 4 different countries. And so we started in Barcelona, Spain, and that's where Jolene spent some time, as you've heard before. And you tell your story, or you want me to tell your story? Jolene has a boyfriend, and so maybe Mom will tell the story and then she can give her perspective. But re-rolling back to Turkey, when Joy was supposed to come with me, but I took Jolene instead, and she was a great blessing. We had, you remember we lived in Argentina, we attended an international church there. So the current pastors of that church now, that we did not know at that time, they attended the International Church Conference in Turkey. Jordan and I had met them at that conference in Dubai, and then they had it after COVID, they had it in Thailand, but this is the first time that Jordan was with me, but Jolene was with me. And lo and behold, the pastors that are at that church, they had their 25-year-old son with them. And so the rest is history. Ricardo and Jolene have been dating since that conference in Turkey a year ago. And his parents are South African. They went as missionaries to Argentina, and now Ricardo lives in Austria because he's a whitewater rafting guide. He loves the outdoors, and he's an instructor for skiing and snowboarding in the winter, and then whitewater rafting during the summer. So that's where he is located right now. He's had because he's got a South African and Argentine passport, it's been a little more difficult to figure out how to get to Canada with his job and timing and all of that. So we were going to Europe for a conference, and Jolene ended up coming with us so that she could see Ricardo, but they were also able to see the ministry sites that we are part of, and they were able to be with us for the International Church Conference we went to in Rome, Italy. So, but we went to Youth for Christ places as well. So we started here in Spain. Pedro is the new national director in Spain. He's actually originally Colombian, so he's a third culture kid, now is the national director in Spain. And this is how we traveled. You can see Jordan with backpack on front and back. He's carrying mine, thank you very much. And then we went to the international churches also, so the National Ministry of Youth of Christ, but we went to the international church in Barcelona. And these are some friends that we have made over the years that are in ministry there. And then from there we went up to Switzerland. I picture that, sorry. But Switzerland, where Jolene had spent some time, and we have staff with Youth Campus has staff there. And so we stopped there. And then we went, and this is all by bus within Europe, which I would not recommend, but that's just me in my old age. Anyway, while we were in Switzerland, we went up to where Youth for Christ is in France. And so we were able to meet with the national director there, Patrick, and another lady, who's Elizabeth, who's in charge of prayer ministry with Youth for Christ in France. And she is also the mom of the 3 little girls that Joy was an au pair for in May and June. So Joy went over to France and was able to minister with Youth for Christ France, but also be an au pair for this lady's little daughters. From there, we went over to Italy, and these are all on our rental.ca site, so you can look at that too. But the lady in the very top corner there, standing beside Jordan, is Esther, and Esther Montefalcone, and she is the national director in Italy. And so we were able to talk with her about her ministry in Italy and some of the things that youth are facing there. And then we went down, she lives up in Bologna, and we went down to Rome, and we visited 2 international churches. One international church that is in one part of the city, and then the other international church where we were having this conference. And so at that conference, we were able to share what we were trying to do. We are now the youth network of the international church, the Missional International Church Network. And so we are their youth leader network. And what we do with that is, since January, Youth Compass has had a monthly Zoom meeting basically since COVID. But since January, we have now invited international youth leaders from around the world to join a Zoom call once a month. We had ours yesterday, and we'll have anywhere, it's not a huge number that come in because they come and they go, and they, depending on their schedules, and they're coming from all over the world. So it's 7 a.m. for us, and then it's like, we have people in Europe where it's 4 p.m. and then the UAE where it's 6 or 7, or no, Kenya where it's 6 p.m., UAE where it's 7 p.m. and then over in Malaysia it's 10 p.m. and they get on this call for us. So this is sort of a mixture of the people that are coming on the call. And what we do is we do a devotional, we do some tips and training about the international kids that we're working with, and then we go to breakout rooms for prayer. So it is something that we've been doing since January, and we have some really good engagement with that. And again, it's a community for these youth leaders who are often very isolated. They're usually working in a country where they are either on their own, maybe they have another job, and this is sort of a volunteer thing that they do, working with young people, and they're working in English mostly in international church settings, but they may be living in a country where there's a different language. And so anyway, we're just there to be encouragement to them and to offer them some resources and some training and to just keep them going month to month. And so that's a virtual part of my job, this is a global part of my job, and then still working based here in Victoria. So I think, and now we're going to pass it on to Jolene, and she will, we're still involved, you'll see some of us in the pictures, but Jolene will show how she is now engaged.
Okay, so yeah, my summer in Europe, and I just wanted to share this verse from John 15, that I'll also share more from that chapter, because it has to do with the word abide. But I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he may give you. So I was in Europe for about a month. The first few weeks I was back in Barcelona, Spain, which was where I have served before, the previous summer as well, for 3 months there. And this time, last summer I did 5 weeks of summer camp, which was a lot. So this year I chose to only focus on one of the 5 weeks of camp, and so I chose English camp because they wanted me back to teach English there, which I was super excited for, especially with the theme of the Summer Olympics, and so getting all the course planned out for that, the classes, was so fun. I got lots of pool noodles and different activities that they could play some of the sports that are in the Summer Olympics, but with pool noodles, which is fun, like fencing and equestrian, like galloping. So that was really fun, and planning all of that. So I was there for the first week planning for it. The second week was the actual being up at the camp, and it was awesome to reconnect with some of the, they bring over an American team from Indianapolis to come help and bring up the hype and everything, so that was really fun to reconnect with some of those people that I met the previous year. And a super cool thing was the room that I was staying in was the biggest room for the girls, and there was like 8 or 9 bunk beds, so a lot of girls. But such a cool thing was most of the girls in that room I knew from the previous year, and all of them were from different weeks of the previous year, but it was just such a cool God moment bringing us all back together, because I didn't know if I was going to see those girls again, but yeah, they were so happy to see me, and I was so happy to see them. And sadly, the first 2 days of camp, I was actually very, very sick. I wasn't able to teach my classes, which was very sad for me, but the environment and the kids who were in my room, like I moved rooms, but they still were super encouraging to me and said that they prayed for me and sent me little notes and flowers. So even though it was, I was kind of down on not being able to teach everything that I had prepared for, I still felt super duper loved, and I knew I was in the place I was supposed to be. So this was an awesome time, reconnecting and being in an environment that I loved. And a really cool God story about this was, so English Camp is the one camp in Youth for Christ camps in Barcelona that's not specifically Christian. All the leaders are faith-based and Christian, but this one is where most kids are not from Christian backgrounds, and so it's an awesome opportunity to just shine and show Jesus just through what we do. And this year, there was a very smaller amount of kids who came. Usually there's about 80 or 90, but there was only like 50, 60 kids. And so we were kind of confused, like, this is like smaller, but we found out later that God had a plan for that, because in our small group time, because there was a smaller amount of kids, they were just so open, so vulnerable with us, and yeah, lots of kids were just so open hands and hungry to hear about Jesus. So that was a really cool opportunity. So the week after the camp, I had a week off in Spain, which was amazing because I got the opportunity for my boyfriend Ricardo to come visit from Austria for a few days and also meet Joy, my sister, for the first time. And so we were there with both of our boyfriends, which was such a cool experience. And we also just had a great dinner with my parents, who showed up on one of the days as well. So it's just such a cool full circle moment with two of my favorite couples in Barcelona who have poured a lot of support and love into my life as well. And during this time, I also, part of the Youth Compass calls, I gave a devotional on roots spreading and different things that God has been teaching me, especially as a third culture kid, and being able to encourage the other youth leaders who are working with third culture kids in their context. So that was a cool opportunity as well. After that, my parents and I went to Switzerland for another youth camp that we were going to be helping out at and offering some workshops. My parents gave the workshops for the youth leaders there on, just informing them more on how to work with international youth and third culture kids. And I was able to offer a workshop as well, helping to the youth on helping them go through transition in a healthier and easier, just giving them some resources on how to do that better, which was super good for me too. I feel like every time I give one of those presentations, I'm basically speaking to myself too, so it's really, really impactful. And the whole theme for that week was rest, which was so good, and also tied into the workshop that I was getting into that I didn't even know about the link in between those two words. So it was just a really cool connection. And the theme verse was from Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30, which is, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So this conference was for third culture kids, and there was youth from all over Europe, from Germany, from France, from Switzerland, and that picture over there is actually the youth group that I served with when I was in Switzerland more than a year ago. So such a cool opportunity to connect with them too, and just see how they've grown since last time I saw them, and just connecting and relating to one another on different places we've lived and with Jesus too. Some more pictures of the place we were in. Literally the most beautiful place I've ever, it's so beautiful in the middle of the mountains in Switzerland. And also sharing like on Psalm 23, talking about rest, that these were like the most greenest pastures I've ever seen and the quietest, beautiful waters, and just really reflecting and using that time and space and being surrounded by God's creation to actually really experience true rest. Being surrounded by His presence. I had an awesome time. We weren't actually going to be leading the groups, like we were there to offer workshops, but they asked if we wanted to lead a small group as well, so I was like, yes please, I'd love to be involved with them. So here's a picture of my team number 2, which was actually all girls. All the other teams were mixed, but this one was all girls, and we were second place overall out of like 10 teams, so it was a really great time to connect with them. It was an awesome time to worship with God, and the theme, the actual title of the theme was Get Unplugged. It was unplugged, so none of the kids had any electronics or anything, and just using that time to be so present in God's presence. And Dad obviously loved the outdoors as well. We all love the outdoors, and taking the kids for hikes and with beautiful waterfalls, and so it was a really, really, really beautiful time. So I wanted to share and focus on this word abide, which at the beginning of this year, God basically chose this word for me to be the theme word for my year, which has been so cool because He's just been revealing so much throughout the year and what it really means to abide, and all these different words. There's so many words that come to mind that are just in that one word abide, like remaining in Him and being connected to the vine, who is Jesus, and us as the branches, and having that clear connection and communion and time spent with Him. So I'm going to share and read John 15, verses 4 through 8. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch and is withered, and they gather them and throw them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, you will ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. I love, love, love this passage. Abiding in Him is literally the best thing ever. So much comes from being connected to God and spending time with God. Without God, you can do nothing. So everything comes from that connection to the vine. You can find strength, you can find peace, you can find rest, all in spending time with Jesus. So all the promises of God are found in abiding in Him. So this next season, I'm praying for a fruitful one. So I finished completing my first year at Camosun College, and I am heading towards starting at UVic, second year for elementary education, but September 2025. The transferring process has been a little bit hard, so this year I've been called to work and have the opportunity to work with Youth for Christ Victoria locally here and with Youth Compass as well. And so some of the context with what I'm going to be working with here in Youth for Christ Victoria here, I'm going to be helping out in Esquimalt High School, which is actually where I went for 9th grade, so it's really cool, a full circle moment, and knowing, I have some knowledge about that area, and some of the teachers that I had might still be there. So the breakfast program that YFCA Victoria has there, I'll be helping out with that, and they also have a drop-in center On Monday nights they have youth groups, so I'll also be helping there. And then with Youth Compass, I'm also, my mom and I are taking a Third Culture Kid training course so that we're able to offer more presentations and more resources on Third Culture Kids and working with them and debrief sessions with families going through transition. So that can be used in many different contexts. And yeah, so I'm really, really excited for this next year. And yeah, all your prayers and support are always very much appreciated. And yeah, I'm just also so thankful for how much you guys have been supporting our family since basically I was born. It's just been awesome to yeah, have Central Baptist Church as a place I can call home. So thank you.
As far as prayer requests, as we finish up here, I think all of the things that we have talked about today, they're ongoing. So if you can be thinking of the things that we talked about today, and then pray into those as far as both our local and national roles, and the same with Jolynn, her local role with Youth for Christ, Victoria, but also then with Youth Compass, she's going to be helping out with some social media for us, and that goes worldwide. And she's also, as she mentioned, we're taking this course, and so those would be some specific prayer requests as to what we are doing, but also just wisdom to know how to balance life as we are between local and global, and trying to engage with the youth in person. You can see this smile on Jolynn's face when she talked about working in small groups and the girls that she was working with. And so to have those one-on-one contacts is where the rubber meets the road. And so just to be praying for that. And also for our family as well. We would appreciate prayer because they're kind of spreading out all over the place now, and it's hard to keep it all, keep track of everything. We are actually, our next trip, just so you know, is we are heading out next Friday. We are heading back to South America. We have not been back there for 12 years now, and there is the MICN conference that was in Turkey last year is in Buenos Aires, Argentina this year. So we thought, we knew about that a year ago, we thought let's work towards that to plan a family reunion. And so the girls and Jordan and I are going down to participate in the conference, so it's partly a work trip. But then the boys are coming at different times. Josh is coming, and then he's going on to Brazil, where Nicole is from. And Jordy and Rachel are hopefully coming as well. And so we are going to have a little family reunion, going back to the place that we were intact as a family of 6 before Jordy went off to university and we moved to other places. And so, yeah, if you could be praying about the family dynamics on that trip, we'll be taking the Thanksgiving weekend to be together as a family while we're down there. Jolynn and the 4 of us are also going over to Uruguay, where the international church is there, and we are going to be doing some training in the international school there. So, yeah, that's our next trip. Jordan is actually heading to Korea first because he's going to the Lausanne conference. It's the International Lausanne World Evangelism Conference. The last one was 10 years ago, and so with COVID in the middle, this has been the first time that they're bringing a lot of organizations together in Seoul, Korea. So he will be there. He's leaving on Friday for that conference and then joining us in South America. So. Yeah, anyway, we just pray that the Air Canada strike does not happen. Let's just put it that way. So anyway, so the prayer requests are for continued travel. But right now, for 2025, I would like to see a little more settled rhythm for myself as far as maybe not traveling so much. We'll see if that comes to pass or not. But I think as we gather Team Mai, I see myself building more teams so that I can be sending other people out to do, to connect. Now that I know all the contexts that we are part of, then hopefully we can communicate better as we are virtual online. And Jolynn, as she gets back from this trip, she will be settling more into her rhythm here, maybe another global trip, but heading to university next September as well. So she'll be here for the next season. And we have Joy, who's just joined us at the back. You may have seen pictures of her boyfriend, Danny. Danny has been with us for the last 6 weeks, and first time in Canada. And he's from Barcelona, Spain, and he is studying psychology at the university there. And he also serves as a volunteer with Youth for Christ in Barcelona. And so he works with all the crazy adolescents that in youth camps and retreats, and on a weekly basis as well. So it's great to have had him here for these 6 weeks. And we thought this is his last night. He flies out tonight, and so they just wanted to drop. They've been walking around downtown Victoria, and they are just wanted to stop by so that you could meet them. So yes,
He's also very good at serving tea.
yes, he'll be helping Jordan with that. Yes.
I believe it.
Are there any questions as we just wanted to finish with one more song?
So I wanted to end with this hymn, Abide With Me, and so we'll have the lyrics on here so you guys can sing along as well. Abide with me, lest falls eventide. The darkness deepens, Lord, with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of a helpless soul, abide with me. Swift to its close, ends of life's little day. Earth's joys grow dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay in all around I see. O thou who changest not, abide with me. Hide me thy presence every passing hour. What by thy grace can foil the tempter's power? Who like thyself my guide and strength can be? Through cloud and sunshine, oh, abide with me. I fear no foe, with me at hand to bless. Ills have no weight and tears no bitterness. Where is testing? Where great thy victory? I triumph still if thou abide with me. Hold down thy cross before my closing eyes. Shine through the gloom and point me to the skies. And morning breaks and earth's vain shadows flee. In life, in death, O Lord, abide with me.
Amen.
Thank you so much.